Hey everyone, it's Matt with Redline Studios in New York, here with another Why Wednesday. Why Wednesdays are simply looking to explore why we do certain things in pre-production, production, and in post, to better understand the process of film and television for people who might just be starting out. The film and television industry is definitely unique and sometimes puzzling, and can even be confusing at times, leaving many to scratch their heads and ask, why do they do that? So we're looking to answer those questions in our Wednesday Why segment. Today, we're asking, transcoding media. Why do I do it, and how do I do it? All right, I already know that the tech heads are going to be coming for me in the comments, and that's just fine. I know I'm going to sound like an old dinosaur in this video, but I don't care. In film and television, you basically got two types of people, the super tech-minded and the super creative-minded. I've worked with some DPs that have every red menu setting memorized where they don't even have to look anything up in the manual. But you know what? At the same token, they can't compose a creative shot to save their life. Me? I'm more of a creative person with just enough tech brain to be marginally dangerous. And I'm sharing this video because I know a lot of you out there are so tired of hearing about the technical jargon. So let's talk about the basics of transcoding when it comes to post-work and editorial. Transcoding is basically converting media from one file type to another to make it easier, safer, and more stable to edit with. Back in the early days, this was critical because cameras recorded massive, processor-heavy files. Editing them raw could crash your system, freeze timelines, or corrupt projects. And honestly, a lot of those risks are still here today, even though technology has improved greatly. I want you to think of your edit system like a car. Sure, you might be able to get away with putting the wrong fluid in the wrong tank for a little bit, but eventually it's gonna catch up to you and it's gonna blow the engine. Transcoding and organizing upfront media prevents disaster later and is no different. Here's my simple, no bullshit workflow that I use in Premiere. I've used it for 20 years and it's never steered me wrong. And I don't have crashes. I don't have corruptions. I don't have problems. People tell me all the time, oh, Adobe's unstable. Well, maybe it's because you're running it into the ground. The way I work, my raw media comes in, usually on a hard drive, organized by shoot day or camera, and I never, ever use raw files to cut with. They stay untouched on their own dedicated raw drive. That raw drive acts as my backup. What do I do with that raw material? I create a complete separate drive that I call my work drive. That's where my transcoded media lives. Naming matters. If you're going to go from raw file A001_1234, well, your transcoded file must be exactly the same. I usually transcode everything into ProRes. Usually ProRes 422HQ, unless the deliverable dictates something differently, like web content, TV spots, theatrical. They all have different needs. If I need to preserve an alpha channel, I'm probably going with ProRes 444. I resize when needed. This is one of my favorite things too. You shot in 8K for a Facebook ad. Well, congrats, you just created a storage and workflow nightmare for no reason. You have to know your deliverables. If you're going to deliver in 1080, it's completely fine to transcode the raw to 1080 and work with those files. Here's another thing I know I'm going to get shit for. I transcode using Adobe Media Encoder separately than Premiere and using proxies. Then I edit only with my transcoded files. They're lighter, they're faster, and they're far less likely to cause headaches. I don't like to use proxies, and I don't like to generate my transcoded media within Premiere itself. People always ask me, why not? Just use the proxies. Well, here's why. Premiere's proxy workflow can rename files incorrectly, they can mismatch media, or they can reconnect to the raw at weird times. All of that has happened to me when I use that workflow. And look, in fairness, I haven't used it recently, so maybe they cleaned up some of the bugs. I'm sure Premiere has probably updated its workflow system using proxies and transcoding right within the platform. But for me, when I try something and it doesn't work or I find that it's problematic, I often don't revisit it if I know another method is a surefire way to go. I also prefer having my hands on the controls. I don't like the set it and forget it method. Yes, I know it's old school, but I am telling you, I have had zero issues Zero on every project I have handled this way. I'm talking about 90-minute documentaries with tons and tons of terabytes of footage. I'm talking about short form content, long form content, multi-camera content. I have never had an issue with stability or crashing or corruptions in working in this way. So if it ain't broke, I don't fix it. Finishing the project. Once the edit is locked, my colorist or online editor usually reconnects my timeline back to the raw files because the file names match perfectly. Then they work with the beautiful full resolution media while I get to skip all the slowdowns and crashes during the actual offline creative process. The bottom line is this: transcode your media for the love of God. Stop just throwing everything into your non-linear editor, whether it's Premiere or DaVinci or Final Cut, and just expecting the program to fix it all for you because you're too lazy. Yes, can most editing software handle all this mixed media, mixed frame rate these days? It sure can, but it's like the analogy I used with the car. If you treat your car well, it'll last longer. If you run it into the ground, it's gonna fall apart. Transcoding media is no different. Keep those file names consistent. Work on separate media drives as a work drive and preserve that raw as a raw drive and a backup safety. Know your deliverables. Don't overshoot resolution just so you can sound cool. Everyone loves to be like, yeah, I shot this on 8K. Oh, by the way, I'm delivering it on 1080 for a fucking YouTube channel. Don't rely blindly on automation. In a world of AI and coasting these days, nothing drives me more crazy than a disenfranchised editor or assistant editor. You should have some pride in your work. When things fall out of sync and things don't work and things get corrupt, it's not the computer's fault. It's your fault for allowing it to happen. There should be some oversight. There should be some care. There should be some hands-on pride in this. This process protects your edits, saves time, and makes you look and act like a pro. And in a world where everyone shoots 8K but edits like they just found iMovie last week, this stuff matters. By separating drives with the raw and the work files, I also inherently create a backup and a safe clone of my work. One last tip. Save the project file not just on the work drive, but on the desktop and on the raw file as well. This way you have multiple backups of your project file, which essentially is your map for your work. This is all about setting up fail-safes in the upfront to avoid epic fails in the back end of the editing process. I hope you enjoyed this Why Wednesday moment. Please remember to like, share, and follow us on social media or visit our company site at www.redlinestudios.net for any and all production and post-production needs here in New York.